Global military spending was more than $1.9 trillion in 2019, and the U.S. is going into 2021 expecting to spend at least $934 billion on military expenditures. It seems like a lot of money, but even just a few complex military projects can make up a majority of this huge budget. With fighter jets, missile defense systems, and gigantic weapons-boosted aircraft carriers, these budgets tend to start big and then end up even bigger. So, from F-35s to high-tech attack submarines, here are some of the most expensive military megaprojects of all time. In 2002, the Joint Strike Fighter program was expected to cost the U.S. around $200 billion. But by 2017, delays and budget overruns had pushed the F-35 program's entire lifetime cost, which is expected to run at least until 2070, to over $1.5 trillion. The original acquisition cost of the program was upped by more than $200 billion to $406.5 billion, with an additional $1.1 trillion expected for operations and maintenance. These huge expectations led to the program receiving the biggest investment of any program in the 2019 fiscal year, and it's now the Defense Department's most expensive weapons project ever. But the incredible cost was originally seen as worth it because the F-35 was meant to have the most advanced propulsion system and stealth features in the entire world, but it was also meant to be more affordable than other aircrafts, which didn't really pan out so well. The F-35 was supposed to replace numerous models of old fighter jets, so in a way the US government put all its eggs in one basket when it came to developing this incredible fighting machine. Unfortunately, the F-35's road to creation has been paved with problems. In 2010, the cost, which was 89% over the baseline projected cost, breached the Nunn-McCurdy Act, which forced the Pentagon and Congress to investigate the program to see if it was still worth all that money and trouble. But because the F-35 has such big shoes to fill, they had to keep the program going. In 2014, another problem occurred when an F-35 burst into flames moments before it was set to take off due to a piece of metal severing the fuel lines. Still, the F-35 has proven to be of some use. In 2018, the F-35 completed its first combat operation in Afghanistan, which launched it into full-rate production by the year 2020. There are expected to be 130 to 160 planes built per year, an increase from the 91 planes built in 2018. Yet the high cost of operating the aircraft, as well as a shortage of spare parts, has made it fairly hard to work with, which may inspire the Pentagon to revamp their plans for its improvement, which could potentially increase the program's cost by billions. The U.S. has a very complex system in place to protect against foreign missiles, referred to as the Ballistic Missiles Defense System. Between 1985 and 2019, Congress allotted over $200 billion to the program. However, this didn't include spending on the Patriot missile system or the many military services required to keep the program running. It also doesn't take into account the millions of dollars that have been spent on anti-missile systems since the 1950s, which pushes the total cost for the missile defense system to somewhere over $300 billion. But the U.S. government sees this as a worthy price to pay for protection. The Ballistic Missile Defense System is meant to detect and intercept attacks by intercontinental ballistic missiles, or ICBMs. Included in the plans are high-altitude, laser, and space-based missile defenses so that the U.S. can cover all its bases. The Ballistic Missile Defense System is made up of a few key components. The first is the satellite sensors and ground or sea-based radars, which serve to monitor and detect offensive missiles. The second component is interceptors and launchers. Just think of it as fighting fire with fire. These weapons are launched from various places like silos and soon maybe even space, and their purpose is to collide with the incoming missile and destroy it before it hits its target, or to explode near it, destroying it in the process. The third component is command and control, which is where sensors and radar are used to process the data and decide what to do next. These centers are located all over the world and involve several different branches of the U.S. military. Approximately 20 countries operate similar missile defense systems, and the price of these systems is likely to keep rising. This is because missile defense systems are highly responsive to specific factors like politics, the possibility of incoming threats which can balloon the budget even if the threat is never followed through, and the challenges of developing new technology to deal with new types of missiles, many of which are becoming harder to detect. If the U.S. is going to properly detect missiles, they also need a lot of powerful ways to successfully destroy them. The DDG-51, or Arleigh Burke class of guided missile destroyers, was built by the U.S. Navy as the replacement for the DDG-2, or Charles F. Adams class of destroyers. The DDG-51 puts the Aegis weapon system, the Spy-1D radar system, and the Tomahawk weapon system to good use and can operate independently as part of a strike group, surface action group, amphibious ready group, or replenishment group. Whether alone or part of a fleet, these ships are capable of some incredibly powerful things like anti-air, anti-surface, and anti-submarine warfare, and are known for their strength in combat. The DDG-51 guided missile destroyer has been in production since the 1980s, but was only officially commissioned in 1991. The budget for these steel-constructed ships has also increased over time. One ship used to cost about $1.843 billion, still a pretty huge price tag, while the new ships are projected to cost $2.4 billion each. All the DDG-51s in existence are estimated to have cost about $101.8 billion in total. There are currently 68 of these ships active, with 89 planned overall. The DDG-51 Flight 3 features an upgraded air and missile defense radar system, which enables these ships to simultaneously perform anti-air warfare and ballistic missile defense, which is incredibly useful to the U.S. Navy. But the ship doesn't come without its problems. Some modernizations have been underway with the goal of reducing general workload requirements as well as cost over time. In 2020, the Trump administration granted the program $3.5 billion for 2 new Arleigh-Burke DDG-51s, with the hope of putting these new improvements into action and continuing the destroyer's reputation as one of the most powerful ships at sea. The Virginia-class submarine is an impressive attack submarine that was one of the U.S.'s very first military projects to come about after the Cold War. It was meant as a replacement for the Seawolf-class sub, which had its program cut after just 3 submarines were built, costing taxpayers over $24 billion. The Virginia-class was meant to be more economically friendly than its predecessor. It's a slightly smaller boat with less crew and fewer weapons. But what it does have is incredibly strong: a reconfigurable torpedo room and fly-by-wire ship control system, as well as weapons such as Tomahawk missiles. Since its original inception, the Virginia submarine has had many upgrades to improve its underwater capabilities, including making it one of the quietest submarines in the world. In 2019, the national security budget invested $7.4 billion in the continuation of the project. Even more recently, the U.S. Navy confirmed a $22.2 billion contract with General Dynamics to create 9 Block 5 Virginia-class submarines between the years 2025 and 2029. They also floated the idea of a 10th vessel by the end of that period if all goes well, which would increase their investment to $24.1 billion. A Block 5 submarine is very different from the original Virginia-class subs, as it's about 80 feet longer, or 24.4 meters, and uses Virginia payload modules to increase its Tomahawk strike capacity by 76%. The Block 5 can also carry unmanned undersea vehicles and other gear, with an estimated 20% improvement and difference in design from the previous Virginia model. The Block 5 has improved systems for intelligence gathering, next-gen sonar, and better underwater warfare technologies, though a lot of the details are classified for security reasons. It's also stealthier than other subs, which makes it perfect for covert operations. The entire Virginia-class submarine program has cost the U.S. government an estimated $83.7 billion since its inception. The new Virginia-class attack subs are expected to remain in service until the 2070s and undergo periodic improvements throughout their operation, so the U.S.'s budget for covert submarines is only expected to increase in the future. The USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier is the first in the U.S. Navy's next generation of powerful warships. Officially commissioned in 2017, this aircraft carrier is expected to cost $12.8 billion in materials and labor, with an extra $4.7 billion spent on research and development. The U.S. hopes to make 3 of these giant ships in total, and each model is expected to be at least 3 times more powerful and efficient than the Nimitz, the class of aircraft carrier that came before it. The finished Ford carrier is gigantic and intimidating, as it should be. It measures 1,106 feet long, 337.1 meters, and 250 feet high, 76.2 meters. It's a floating island that'll be home to most of the U.S.'s flying arsenal, such as the FA-18 Super Hornet and the E-18 Growler. The largest of the ship's 162 sections is the stern, which is 90 feet long, or 27.4 meters, 120 feet wide, or 36.6 meters, and 30 feet deep, 9.1 meters. Other than size, the Ford has many improvements that make it better than its predecessor. It implements improved stealth conditions to help with radar detection, an updated RIM-162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile system, an integrated warfare system called the Ship Self-Defense System, or SSDS, and a new nuclear reactor design to improve power generation. In addition to being incredibly powerful, the ship offers its crew better conditions, including quieter sleeping quarters and recreation areas, as well as a gym. The ship also uses augmented reality technology to give its crew more insight into its systems, improving overall efficiency. But the Ford is not quite done yet. It will require trials through to 2021 before being officially deployed, including significant shock tests. These trials are expected to add another $780 million to the ship's price tag, bringing the entire program cost to an estimated $37.3 billion. However, the trials haven't been going that well. There have been problems with everything from toilets to elevator function. Apparently, it cost as much as $400,000 to unclog the toilet system. The electromagnetic aircraft launch system also suffered from a fault in the power supply system. Because of these delays, the price of the project could exceed $40 billion, and it might take until 2024 for the ship to be completely ready for deployment. Do you think these expensive military projects are worth it? Which one is the most impressive? Let us know in the comments section down below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to our channel for more. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.